This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Warrenville Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting of the whole. This is Monday, June 10th. This committee will be conducted in the traditional in-person format, and the public may view it online, but they are not allowed to make comment. If you need to make a comment at any time about anything that would ever be on the agenda, you are always welcome to come to City Hall and make those comments. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Brummel,
Here.
Alderman Lockett,
Here.
Alderman Ashour,
Here.
Alderman Berry,
Here?
Alderman Davalos, Alderman Augustinovich,
Here.
Alderman Wilkie is absent, Alderman Widener is absent, Alderman Kruckenberg.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. If you'd all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now it's on to citizens' comments. We have one person signed up. Mr. Hoffman, did you want to care to make your comment now? Okay, do you know what item you would like to make your comment on? You're not making it? Okay, thank you. Okay, official and staff comments. Mayor?
Thank you. Two things tonight. One, thanks to the Park District for the exceptionally nice but truncated multicultural festival. Sadly, the weather did not agree with the second half of that festival. The first half was exemplary. It was excellent. It was fun. It was a great crowd. The first part of the day was beautiful. The idea that the multicultural aspect of our society is important and valuable and enriches our lives came across very well. So great job, Park District. Thank you so much. The second thing would be that we've entered the final phase of our special census, maybe the most important phase because we need as much participation as possible. So if someone's knocking on your door that looks official, please answer the door, answer the questions. It takes only a few moments. It would be a very helpful thing for the community. Keep in mind that every person that's identified brings us about $250 a year in federal and state aid. So take that over 5 years. Each person, just by answering a few questions, can add significantly to the revenue that the city brings in from out-of-state sources, out of city sources, I should say. This keeps your tax bill low. Very, very important to participate. So those who have already done that electronically, that's no longer possible, but there will be people coming around door to door. So again, respond. Your community will appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman? No comments? Okay. Staff, any comments? Oh, okay. Clerk? City Administrator? No comment? Okay, we're good. Now on to the business of the meeting. The first item is the ViewWorks Enterprise Asset Management Software Demonstration. And this will be conducted by Asset Management Analyst Cassandra Hernandez-Galvin.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Good evening. Tonight I will be giving a presentation on how ViewWorks has been going for Public Works staff since we've gone live on April 1st. And as I go through the presentation, I will be stopping at each slide. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. If not, I'll also be taking questions at the end. All right, so EAM is Enterprise Asset Management. ViewWorks is an EAM software that centralizes asset information all into one place, making it easier to monitor, improve, to proactively inspect and maintain assets. So as shown on the screen, these are the many different impacts, positive impacts that EAM has for the enterprise asset management. And just in a short time of using ViewWorks, Public Works staff has actually been able to hit many different, or many impacts, EAM impacts. All right, so there are many different steps and moving parts to get us to where we're at today, to our go live on April 1st. So staff was very successful at completing the foundational steps, and now we have moved on to effectively using the ViewWorks software to streamline asset tracking, proactive inspection, and maintenance procedures. Okay, so in past practices, staff would receive a request via a phone call, an email, or a walk-in, right? So, and whoever would receive the request would pass it along to the appropriate staff member or division, and then they would take care of the request and do it. Once they completed the job, they would go back to whoever the requester was to let them know that it's been completed, and then at the end of the day, they would sit back at the shop and notate how many hours or what tasks they did and how long it took them to complete. Staff was striving to implement a more centralized practice to allow for better work and data reporting. So now with ViewWorks being implemented, staff receives notifications in their queue, and they're able to complete the work order in real time, allowing for more efficient and effective workflow. Now, some more exciting news to add to this is staff is close to releasing a citizen engagement portal, which will allow residents to submit service requests to Public Works staff, and it will automatically be sent to their queue in ViewWorks. I should actually stop here to see if anybody has any questions.
Alderman Davalos?
Thank you. So when you're talking about real time, you're saying it's going to happen closer to when the request came in rather than end of day. Is that what it means to be in real time?
So when the request is put into the system, the crew member will actually receive that request on their city-issued device, and they would be able to conduct the work or see what is in their queue to be completed.
And report how it
Yes, they'll
went
be
as
able,
it was happening, as opposed to waiting until the end of the day?
correct.
Okay, thanks.
I'll show you a screenshot in a couple more slides.
Alderman Krokenberg?
Are requests received electronically, or do people come in to give a request? Is it different than it used to be?
We'll get to the point for the citizen engagement part that will be electronically. Now they could still come in and they'll be able to give a request, and that will be put into the system electronically, and it will be sent off into the workflow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Did I touch something? All right, here we go. All right. So a very important component of ViewWorks is our GIS map. So ViewWorks has the ability to, for staff members to have and to use our GIS map. And this helps staff pinpoint specific assets and allows staff to obtain additional information that is needed about the asset. So staff members worked with our GIS consultant, CGS, and they developed and integrated our maps into ViewWorks, and now staff can complete work orders and link different GIS assets to those work orders. So ultimately, linking the GIS assets to the work orders will allow staff to make better informed decisions as they continue to gather data. So ViewWorks also gives us the ability for dashboards. So dashboards are a comprehensive overview of data from different sources. Staff has the ability to create their own dashboards on different data to help analyze key areas. So this is a screenshot of my dashboard that I created, and that gives me a quick glance of the open, closed, and on-hold work orders for the various divisions. And this kind of ties back to one of my first slides about the EAM positive impacts, giving us the reporting, the transparency, work allocation, and those work orders. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Lockett?
Can you just explain a little bit about your dashboard, like what the colors represent, like
Yeah.
orange and the red?
So it might be a little hard, right? So the blue are the closed work orders. So this is overall, right? The top one. The brown colored one is the open work orders, and the red are the on-hold work orders. So on-hold work orders would be if there was a part that needed to be ordered, there's material that's needed that we don't have or we don't have enough of, so the work order needs to be on hold until we get the supplies and staff can complete it. And then down here is just the different divisions of facility, fleet, sanitary sewer, street, and water.
I have a question. Does each Public Works person have a handheld device?
Yes, they
So
do.
This request, who decides where the request goes to?
So when the request first comes in, it goes to everybody in that department, and the crew leaders will assign, or the superintendent will assign the job task to either one employee, or a lot of times our staff works with multiple individuals, and they will all work on that work order. So they'll be assigned, and they'll be able to see it, complete it, the job task.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Lockett?
So kind of speaking to that, are they able to set something up with regards to off hours? Or if somebody submits something at 11 o'clock at night, is their phone going to go off? Or can they set up like their hours with regards to when they get alerts or don't?
Well, I don't have the exact answer on that, but Director Kukler, do you want to chime in?
So when people submit service requests in there, if it's an emergency, there's going to be something on the citizen engagement window when that is available that says, if you have an emergency, call 911. We don't want somebody reporting a water main break and submitting a service request where it might take some time to get, want that to be, it's something, again, a water main break's really important. We want the utility division to be aware of that right away so they can get people mobilized and go out there. When stuff's submitted in the middle, if it just, hey, there's a skunk in the road or there's a tree down or whatever, and somebody submits it, it's not an emergency, then staff will see it first thing in the morning when they get in the next day. Because they're not, the staff that's on call is honestly actively checking their emails all night long. They're responding to emergencies. If there's an emergency locate or something like that, they'll respond to that. But during the evening, they're not responding to stuff that's just submitted. No different than any email. Like if I send an email out in the evening to somebody, I'm not expecting that they're going to see that. In fact, I'm expecting they're not checking that because they're not getting paid overtime to be checking email at night.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, so ViewWorks has a mobile application that the field crew members use called Workforce View. Staff is able to receive, complete, create, and close out work orders through their city-issued devices. By staff conducting job tasks through one centralized portal, this allows staff to complete work orders in real time and without having to come back to the shop at the end of the day to fill in their hours or the job tasks that they have completed. And this will ultimately make data collecting more efficient and effective. All right. So now going on to into the data. Again, I want to note that we've been live for a month. We're going into month 2, but we've been able to get data. And we now have the ability to conduct historical reporting. So in the future, we'll say about 3 years from now, we'll be able to have a deeper understanding of the data, which will make it more valuable. But right here, I have a screenshot of a fleet vehicle repair. And this notates the date of service, the date that it was repaired, what was done, the costs associated with the vehicle. And as time progresses, staff will be able to analyze this information and determine if future action is needed to be taken sooner. Do we need to remove the fleet? Do we need to repurpose their equipment? And it ultimately will allow staff to review costs, vendor costs for cost-saving purposes.
Question. So does, like, the first item there, does that tell you when maintenance is scheduled, like for oil changes, tire rotations, certain things like that? Does something pop up that says this, it's now time, it's done this many miles or something like that? So, or do you do it on a monthly basis? How does that work?
So right now, we have recurring work orders set up on all our fleet. They need to be in front of a mechanic to be serviced once a year. And once they go out, the work order is generated. When it's completed, since it's an annual thing, it will automatically create a work order again on that exact date for the year. So it's going to be a tracking purpose, tracking mechanism so that, you know, not all the vehicles go out at the same time, and we'll get a reminder, a work order will be created, and that vehicle will go out for service.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, here's another screenshot of a report that I generated. And this is a breakdown of our different divisions and tasks that they have completed. This ultimately gives a bigger picture of labor and equipment costs for the various tasks. So up top, we have a couple of work orders for water main breaks. Along with that, it's the labor and the equipment cost. In the middle, we have streets with the brush pickup. And down below, we have facility maintenance job tasks. Ultimately, this data and data that we continue to receive, this will be the foundation for capital planning in the future. Staff will be able to conduct condition ratings, valuation out of the data exported. And then overall, staff has been very successful at using ViewWorks, and they're using it daily in the field, completing on all the job assignments that they're completing. And we are starting to collect data that we've been wanting, which will allow us to make data-driven decisions in the future. So,
Alderman Lockett?
So does this allow you to track the number of hours too that is being spent on that task?
yes, per work order, we can do that.
That's great. That's great information to have. Okay, thank you.
All right. If anybody has any other questions?
Alderman Lockett?
All right. For the GIS on all the assets that we have, that's different assets throughout the entire city, right?
Correct.
So that'll give us history with regards to when something was done there, you know, such as the water fountain or this or that or whatever we may have. Through the years, somebody will be able to look at that historical data to see what was done there, what color it was painted, or you know, something like that. So it'll
Correct.
just kind of give everything, so we'll have that history for that starting from now until theoretically forever.
Yes, that's correct.
That's awesome. All right, thank you.
Mayor?
Along those lines, the information that's going to be in the system begins with the implementation of the system, or do we take information that's already available to us, like on the vehicles and so on? Would that be programmed into? Seems to me that would be very valuable. If we've had a vehicle for 8 years, we wouldn't want to lose the history of how it's been maintained for that 8 years because we started a new program. So do we include all of the history of all of these capital assets in the new program?
At this moment, we have everything from April 1st in there. We don't have any past data, and that would be for staff to decide, or I'll let Director Kukler in on that.
So for stuff that's easier to import, like we had we paid a consultant to do a pavement condition rating like 4 years ago and then last year. That stuff is easily imported into ViewWorks because it's already in like a Excel spreadsheet format, and our consultants were able to work with that project, was able to work with the Bay Corps to get that imported. For stuff that would require digging back in the archives and the finance files, we're not going to go back and do that because it's a heavy staff load. The information's still there if we want to go try to find it and track it down, but for the more complex stuff, that'd be a heavy lift. We're not going backwards to add stuff in.
But
There might
it's
be,
still available.
it is available,
It's just not going to be in this system.
yeah.
So
But
if there's a question about, whether a vehicle should be replaced, and you want to look at the history of how much trouble you had with it, you could still find that.
Yes. And I do anticipate, as we build out our GIS more, and that is in trying to get some more data on maybe like when storm sewer was installed. I may not be going back to research exactly when that particular piece was installed, but if you look at like the Summer Lake subdivision, it was installed in like the 1970s, to get a relative age on it so you know how old some of the water main and some of that infrastructure is, but not necessarily going back and trying to figure out every repair or replacement we did on those.
That sounds good, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you.
Cassandra. On to number 2, consideration of the Trailhead solar panels. And this will be conducted by Senior Engineer Christine Hocking.
Thank you very much. If you recall, back in 2022, EAC made a recommendation to use the Allego electrical aggregation funds for the Trailhead project, specifically the Trailhead solar bench, which has been installed, as well as solar panels on the Trailhead Pavilion building. City staff obtained 3 quotes for the solar panel work, reviewed the scope of services, and checked references for each character. Gosh, sometimes. Contractor, Windfree Solar, provided the most thorough response and also had various references that had a lot of good experience with the contractor. They have a lot of experience with governmental entities and park districts in the area. Staff recommends waiving competitive bidding and approving the contract with Windfree Solar for the installation of the solar panels at the Trailhead Pavilion. This will entail 18 panels on the building and will provide almost 100% offset of what we have estimated is the requirement for the electrical component of the project. I'd like to take any questions.
Questions, comments? Alderman Ashour?
Thanks for all the good information. My question is, and I didn't see it in the backup, is do we have a cost-benefit analysis that, because once we install this, it's going to be plugged into the CMP. There's going to be an annual cost that is, kind of pushed back to the taxpayers. And I didn't see anything that tell me that how much extra energy these may create and how that's going to pay back the taxpayers.
So the energy offset will be approximately 95% to 100% of the offset of what the building currently takes. So how solar panels work is obviously in the summer, the energy provided by the solar panels will be more than what's consumed by the building. You get a credit on the ComEd bill. This is one building where we actually will get ComEd bills, unlike other city buildings. You get a credit on that, and then in the wintertime, when the solar panels aren't producing as much energy because of, there's snow on the roof or on the panels, or just because of the orientation of the sun, you get to use those credits towards your ComEd bill, and that ends up with a yearly net of close to zero. This is, approximate numbers, obviously. So that's, I guess, yearly, but overall, these panels last 25 years. So if you take that and you do the CMRP, I guess, cost benefit for that, since the panels cost $30,000 to install, you're assuming over time, in 25 years, it's probably going to be, well, actually, panels are actually going down in cost. So let's assume it's $30,000. That would be $1,200 a year. That would be in the CMRP Director Kukler and I talked about this today, or just now. But at that time, since these are solar panels, they're not obviously required for the building. At that time, if there was a reason not to replace the panels, obviously the decision could be made at that time, but we can assume the $1,200 a year in CMRP costs, assuming that we're going to be replacing the panels at the same cost in 25 years.
So I'm sorry, where does that leave us? What's the net gain?
So the net gain, like in terms of electrical cost savings a year,
Yeah.
I don't have that number in front of me right now.
I mean, that's a fair question, and is there a way we can come up with a number for that could maybe be
That
included
could
in next
help.
week's packet?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Thank you.
City Administrator.
We can certainly look at that number. I think want to clarify that either way, the city would be paying for electric on this building because it's not free for the trailhead, whereas the city hall building, for example, we don't pay electricity for, we do for the trailhead building. The panels, the installation of the panels are being offset by the grant that we received. So there is no initial cost to the panels themselves. The ongoing cost of electricity is being offset at roughly, we're estimating 95% by the generation of solar power using those panels. So just to clarify what that means, we are still going to have a cost for electricity on the building, but our cost is essentially 5% of what we would pay otherwise without the solar panels.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, we would need a motion. Alderman Lockett?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the City Council pass a resolution waiving bidding and approving a contract with Windfree Solar for the purchase and installation of solar panels at the Trailhead Pavilion Building.
Second?
We have a motion by Alderman Lockett and a second by Alderman Davalos. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Number 3, consideration of underground storage tank removal contracts related to the OTRS number 2 construction. And again, this is Senior Civil Engineer Hockey.
Thank you. During the construction of the OTRS number 2, Phase 1 and Utility Improvements Project, what's called a orphan underground storage tank was discovered on the south side of Warrenville Road in front of the Biff Bear Building. It was discovered when the contractor was making the connection of the water service to the new water main in that area. As per state requirements, the Office of State Fire Marshals was contacted, and the contractor was directed to work obviously around the tank and install the water service at that time. And then everything was backfilled with aggregate for the interim. The next steps for this is to remove the tank and do the testing. Once it's uncovered, the owner, and because it's in the Warrenville Road right-of-way, the city and it's an orphan tank, the owner is required to remove it and perform sampling as soon as practically possible. In this case, with the Batavia Road resurfacing project, we are going to be removing and replacing the sidewalk in that immediate area to bring that sidewalk into ADA compliance. So it makes sense to do the work prior to installation of that sidewalk. So that it can be properly backfilled then and prepared for that removal and replacement of the sidewalk. The contractors that are included in the backup material, the one contractor, Stiles Inc., actually removed the large tanks on the OTRS site last year, the year before that. And Terracon is our environmental consultant for all of the activities out there. So they're in the best position to do the work, and they've performed very well in the services to date. The total cost to remove the tank and do these environmental services is around $25,000. It is not included in the budget because it was an unexpected cost. But we are assuming, because it's an orphan tank and because that building has been there for a long time, that it's what we call it a pre-1974 tank. The requirements for that: remove it, do the testing, submit a form essentially saying, this tank is so old that we don't need to do any further investigation or remediation, and that everything is closed. But it is unknown until we go in there and do the testing to see exactly what type of tank it is. If it is a leaking underground storage tank, like what was on the gas station site, there could be further environmental remediation that's required, including not to the extent that we saw, obviously, on the OTRS site, but enough to satisfy the state requirements for that. If there is anything further that needs to be done beyond the scope of work in these two contracts, obviously, staff would bring this information back to the committee of the whole before doing any type of further work. That type of further investigation has more of a time frame for that from the state. I think with that, I'll take any questions.
Mayor Brummel?
Is this tank located in such a way that it's going to be paved over, or is it in a place where it's not going to be paved over?
The majority of it will be under sidewalk. Is the sidewalk up against the right of way there? There might be a small area of parkway, maybe, I think, 2 or 3 feet, that will be grass.
Okay, so because there are different requirements if you're not going to dig, right? But you still have to dig it out no matter what?
Right, yeah, we still have to dig it out. Most likely, we're going to dig out everything in that parkway area, and we'd have to replace it with aggregate or clean backfill, and then we could just cover it with the soil and the grass and obviously the
Do
concrete.
we have any idea of how?
It's not in the Office of State Fire Marshal database, which that database was begun in 1974. So our assumption is that it's pre-1974. Aerials, it's hard to tell. There were other tanks that were on that building's footprint before. There was old gas station, service station over there. So there were other tanks on that property that were removed back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. But this one wasn't one that was identified. And because of that, the assumption is that it's so old, it could be just a heating oil tank from back in the day.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Ashour?
My question is, and it's only because I went back and dug into as much stuff as I could, but it's never been clear where the county part of Warrenville Road ended, whether it was at the west edge of River Road or if it was at the Batavia Road easement. And if it goes past River Road, then this actually went on before we took over the county right away. So this would seem like it's worth investigating to see if it's their responsibility or ours. And I don't know how to determine where that, I've seen different things over the years, and I'm just not sure, where the county portion of Warrenville Road ended.
The assumption between the county and the city has always been that the city owns the Warrenville Road from the west side of River Road west. That's where the division is.
Okay, I couldn't find that in any of our backup that we've had over the through the trade of the properties. But it certainly is worth a look. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, because we would need a motion. Alderman Lockett?
I'd like to make a motion, recommend the city council pass resolution approving contracts with Styles, Inc. and Terracon Consultants for services related to the removal of the underground storage tank within the Warrenville Road right-of-way.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Lockett and a second by Alderman Kruckenberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Number 4, the Public Works Department FY 2025 Work Program and Decision Package Status Report. So, is there anything, Director Kukler, that you want to talk about on this? Are there any questions? The Alderman? Nope. Okay, that was information only. We have nothing under miscellaneous, and we just need one other motion. Alderman Kruckenberg.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Of course not. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
This conference is no longer being recorded.